For 15 years, alcohol was a massive part of my life. But 5 years ago, I decided to quit completely. And in those 5 years, I've grown more than I ever did in those 15 years as a drinker. Today, I'm going to share with you the full cycle from being a problem drinker in my teens to being completely sober in my 30s. And if we haven't met yet, my name's Ben, and I am the founder of Hybrid Sobriety, a program that not only helps you quit alcohol, but helps you become the most disciplined, determined version of yourself, so you can go out there and get the life that you really want. I have a free training video for 2025. The link is below in the description. Check it out.
When I was younger, drinking felt exciting, especially being brought up in Wales and the United Kingdom. It was like the normal thing to do. Every weekend you would just go to house parties, pubs, clubs, and no one batted an eyelid. From the outside, my life looked pretty good. I was in shape, I did a little bit of modelling, I had nice clothes, I had a decent car, I had my own place. But inside, my life was chaos. By the age of 23, I'd been arrested multiple times and I'd been to prison twice. And the truth was, drinking wasn't fun by that point. The only reason I was doing it was to escape my reality. Because it felt easier to numb myself than to face my situation head on and do the work to change my life. But this is when the shift happened. By my late 20s, I started to realise that everyone around me, their lives were moving forward, and mine, I was just staying stuck. While everyone was having kids, getting married and buying cars, I was still stuck in the same cycle. I'd have a good week in work and then I'd promise myself that I would just go out for one drink. But before I knew it, I was up all alone doing coke until early AMs when my girlfriends used to be in bed. And then I would spend the whole day laid up on the sofa, filled with regret and shame. Then guess what happened? Monday morning came around and I promised myself the same again. This time it will be different. I promised myself I will not put myself in the same situation. But I could never keep these promises to myself, no matter how much I meant it at the time. And that is why I burnt away over a decade of my life. As 30 got closer, I realised that I had to make the choice. I had to choose, keep the same path and keep destroying my life, or take the harder road, the pain of change. At 30, I decided no more half measures, and that was it. I decided to give up drinking drugs for good. But guess what? Quitting wasn't glamorous either. Cravings are real, nights felt awkward, and at the time I was really worried that friends wouldn't accept me for who I really was. And at some points, I felt like the odd one out. Physically, I started to notice more changes. I had more energy for the gym, and the mornings, they felt clearer. And my routines, they started to shift. Instead of staying up until 2 AM, I was in bed by 9:30 PM and I was waking up at 6 AM every morning. But socially, things were tough. I would go out with people, 2 pubs, 2 clubs, and I just couldn't get into the conversation. I just felt that I was on a different wavelength and that I couldn't connect with anyone. I just didn't have that same flow I used to have when I used to drink and take drugs. And that made me feel like an outsider. But as time went on and I reached the 6-month mark, I stopped seeing myself as someone who was trying not to drink, and I saw myself as someone who was a non-drinker. That's when my mind started to work in new ways. I began thinking about what I actually wanted from life and what I was going to do to make sure I got that. Now, I'll be honest with you, it wasn't easy and I spent a lot of time on my own. I can recall so many weekends sat in on my own watching Netflix with a pizza. I'm now 5 years sober and I haven't had a girlfriend for 2 years. My social circle is way smaller, but it is way stronger. The people I have around me now, they're on the same path as me. These are people who push me forward and they're people who I actually aspire to be like. It's like Chris Williamson says, if you need alcohol to hang around with your friends, then they're not really your friends at all. They're just your drinking buddies, and being sober made that crystal clear. But the biggest change of all to my life is how I show up for life. It's how I deal with problems head on. I've built up resilience, discipline, and I've traveled around Southeast Asia on my own. I've built my business from scratch, and I can now, hand on heart, fully rely on myself because I know if something comes up, I will always be able to find a way. And that is something that I never had when I was a drinker. Back then, I leaned on everyone else, but now I only lean on me. I've grown more in 5 years than I have in the last 15 years of being a drinker, and that is no exaggeration. My life, it's far from perfect, but it's a whole lot better than it was before. That's what really happens when you quit alcohol. It's not just about quitting drinking, it's about building a life that you don't want to run away from. And if you're stuck in the cycle that I was in, let this be your reminder. The hardest part isn't quitting. The hardest part is believing that you can build a better life. And trust me, you can. I have a free training video for 2025. The link is below. Check it out.